They became family really fast. They have never been aggressive in any way. They haven't given me an explanation about why they are not approving my statements and why I'm being ignored, why I'm stated as a victim. I tried to talk to them.
To keep a long story short, we said that we wouldn't talk about Andrew Tate until we got a verdict. However, I also did say that I would speak about him again if anything significant came out. There has been a couple of significant changes in what's been going on with Andrew Tate. People have seen that he's tweeting from prison. Obviously, he's got somebody tweeting for him. They're asking him what he's thinking. He's tweeting it out.
I did realise that, yeah, because me and my mum was talking about it. And she was like, he's tweeting. I was like, how is he tweeting? Like, he's in
Someone's
prison.
just got his account, and they're probably calling him, and he's telling them what to write, and he's sending it out. So his appeal was denied again. He's been detained for another 30 days. Apparently, it's because what they have on him isn't enough. They seized his cars, his laptops, everything that was in the Tate brothers' house. And apparently it's not enough. So they're trying to bring new charges against him. So the human trafficking is not enough, from what I hear. So they're trying to bring new stuff to him. But I still think that they're pursuing the human trafficking thing. There has been development since then. I don't know if you saw, there was like a march in Greece. There was like a protest in Greece of hundreds, if not thousands of men marching in the streets, shouting Free Top G. They were shouting Free Top G in Greece, which is crazy. I thought the video was fake at first. I showed it to my friend. He said maybe it's just a video of a bunch of guys marching and they've put a sound over it. But then I saw different news outlets covering it, different angles, and they're just shouting Free Top G. So
Free Top G, 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 Free Top G.
I know that there's no evidence to suggest that they have put him in prison because he is so powerful that he could sway an election or rally like a bunch of young men to do his bidding or whatever. I think when you've got somebody that is that influential and is going against the grain, it might be worth mentioning. It's not worth mentioning in a court of law because you can't prove anything, but it's definitely like, it's going to make people turn sideways, you know, for someone to have that much power. He's got more sway than most politicians do. Andrew Tate tells a bunch of guys to jump. They're going to jump, but they're not listening to these politicians. A lot of these politicians, these suits, they don't have the respect and the attention of a lot of young men around the world, and probably women for that matter as well. Andrew Tate has those things. For all the people that hate him, there's an equal amount of people that love and respect this guy. So there's that. And there's also now another woman. This might be one of the women that came forward before, but she's made further statements regarding her not being a victim of Andrew Tate's human trafficking. Now, one of the things that I've seen people talking about, and I watched a debate between Destiny and some guy, Muslim guy, with regards to Andrew Tate. And what Destiny was saying was that one thing that pimps do is that they I don't know if he said like psychologically abuse them or manipulate them into believing that they haven't been trafficked and they're not being held there against their will, and that they will defend their pimp basically because they don't believe, because they've been brainwashed. The problem with that argument, and I hear what he's saying, I'm not saying people can't be brainwashed, but the problem with that argument is that any girl that comes forward now saying that Andrew Tate did not do these things to me, anyone can just say, oh, you're brainwashed. So it's a bit difficult to have that conversation. And there's more than one girl that's saying it. As far as I'm aware, there have been 6 girls that have been named out of this like whole human trafficking thing, even though there was loads of girls that worked for him. I heard that there was over 70 women that were working for him at one time.
Right.
Don't know if that number is true or not. I don't actually know what the concrete number is, but there was a lot of women working for Andrew Tate and a lot of women coming in and out of his house. There is video footage of Andrew Tate, of these women in Andrew Tate's house, leaving whenever they want, picking up pizzas, doing whatever. It doesn't look like the home of somebody that's holding women captive. Then on top of that, you've got 2 women that have come forward on video. You've got that third woman actually that put up the message saying that she was having a conversation with Andrew Tate and he was happy for her to go abroad and not work for him anymore. The case is all over the place. It is all over the place. No one really knows what to think. There's been no concrete evidence of anything that Andrew Tate's done. There's been transcripts and that, but I think if the transcripts were enough, he would be in prison now for however many years. I think the reason that they keep on detaining him is because they're looking for evidence. I don't know. But this girl has now come on video and she's explaining that she has not been brainwashed, that Andrew Tate is a close friend of hers. Now, again, for all of Andrew Tate's detractors, they're going to say this woman is brainwashed, which I understand what they're saying, but at the same time, it seems like a little bit of a cop-out. Because any woman that now defends Andrew Tate, they're going to say this woman's been brainwashed. This guy's like a mastermind. So for the people that dislike Andrew Tate or hate Andrew Tate, there is no coming back for him as far as they're concerned. He's brainwashed these women. He is an abuser. End of story, regardless of whether he walks from prison or not. It's worth listening to what this woman has to say because she does have a lot to say with regards to Andrew Tate. And she's saying things that they are chalking up to conspiracy, where a lot of people think that the reason why Andrew and Tristan Tate were detained is for political reasons, is because of how much power they have. And this is the same thing that she's saying, a girl that has lived in his house with him and has been very close to him. So we're going to play portions of the video for you guys, things that she's saying, and you guys be the judge. We're reacting to this from Festify's channel, but they got it from Tam Khan, who is on Rumble, who is one of Andrew Tate's friends.
I'm Suleiman Ahmed. I'm an independent journalist. I have no connection to the Tates whatsoever. And the basis for this is to get down to the bottom of exactly what's been happening and what the facts are. So thank you very much for joining us. Jasmina, when did you actually meet the Tates?
It wasn't long after I moved back to Romania. It was in beginning of 2021.
Why do you refer to the Tates as family? Why do you call them family?
Because they are family. You know what I've been saying for a long time, family doesn't necessarily mean that you have the same blood or DNA with someone. I got to know them and I saw how good and kind and how hardworking they were. So they became family really fast.
So how do the Tates treat the women around them?
They have never been aggressive in any way. They won't just like ignore someone if you try to talk to them.
So what she's saying there kind of goes against everything that we've seen in the transcripts, because in the transcripts, one of the girls that worked for Andrew Tate was saying that because one of the girls in the house hadn't made enough money, that she should slap herself, and when Andrew gets home, he's going to throw her off a balcony.
Right.
That goes, that transcript and what she's saying, again, doesn't make sense. What this girl is saying out of her own mouth, someone that has been around Andrew Tate, is saying that he's not aggressive, he's not hostile towards women, and he doesn't ignore them. Now, again, I know people are going to chalk this up to this girl is on Andrew Tate's payroll. It benefits her for him to get out of prison because she'll continue to make money. But is it at one point it was believe all women, and now it's find any reason to not believe any of these women that are coming forward. So she is saying what she's saying, and we can either choose to dismiss it or we can listen to her. Maybe she's telling the truth. None of us really know what's going on with Andrew Tate yet. I don't think it's fair to dismiss all these women that are coming forward.
You released a video, and in the video you mentioned that the house that you were living in yourself was your house. Can you just clarify that for us, please?
They raided my house that I am renting with another friend, and it was their house. And the house I am renting, I have a landlord. She has nothing to do with them at all.
You also mentioned that Deco destroyed the CCTV. How did you know this? How did you come to this conclusion?
Because obviously I am directly involved in the case. So it's the law. The authorities and the lawyers, they have to inform me about stuff too.
So they just threw it off the case. They're not using it as anything. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was confirmed by the Tate's lawyers that they weren't including any of the footage throughout this entire period. So my question to you is, why do you think they destroyed the evidence or did not want to include the evidence into the case?
Everyone can see this from the outside. This case is full of corruption. Obviously, they don't want them to get out of the arrest, right? They want to keep them there as long as possible. And they have no proof in this case. So what they're trying to do is just like keep them there for longer, so they will like look for more evidence that doesn't exist, more evidence that they will never have, because there has been no crime committed whatsoever.
It's mad, right?
Yeah.
They're saying what she is saying is going against everything that the transcripts are saying about Andrew Tate, all the things that apparently he said to these women. This case is really interesting to me because when women have come forward before about their abusers, whether it be Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein, it was pretty much unanimous across the board. There was no women defending those guys. I do think it's a bit weird that there are women that are coming out saying, no, this isn't fair, these guys are family to me. Because you could make the argument and say these women benefit from Andrew Tate being out of prison because he's very rich, he can pay them. But couldn't you use that same argument against all the rich people that have gone down as a result of the Me Too movement, and rightfully so, like Harvey Weinstein, right? He was a very powerful figure in Hollywood. If those girls had just kept quiet, they would have continued to get movie roles, right? Why is it that everyone went after Harvey Weinstein? And again, rightfully so. I'm not defending Harvey Weinstein, but I'm trying to draw a comparison here.
Yeah.
Everyone went for him. All the actresses in Hollywood, all the guys were like unanimously, yeah, this guy's a creep, he needs to go. But in Andrew Tate's situation, he's also a rich, powerful man, like Harvey Weinstein, but there's women that are defending him.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that are probably not going to believe her, or basically because she's going against everything he's saying, a lot of people might think that it's fake altogether, and she's
In on it.
No. So then for this to work, right, there needs to be evidence that she has actually been around him, because they could just be paying anyone just to say anything. Well, is the point. So the people who you're talking about with the other cases, they might have been actual victims who have gone through stuff. If this is someone who's not had anything to do with him and is just being paid to do this, then that's just her making her money. So for this to be believable, there needs to be evidence that she actually was hanging around with him during these times.
Then why did the courts, the law and the news name her as a victim?
I don't know. It's all too confusing for me.
Well, I mean, if the law and the courts and the Romanian government have named
I see
her,
what you mean, yeah.
they said she's a victim. So they have determined that she was around Andrew Tate. They have determined that she was trafficked. They've determined that she's maybe been brainwashed, she's been abused, whatever. They've made that determination about her.
Do you not think that potentially people could be getting threatened?
By Andrew Tate and his people over the Romanian government?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like if you think about UK crime, a lot of people won't snitch because of the repercussions.
Oh, are you saying that Andrew Tate has like a crime network and she might be in trouble if she says anything against him?
Potentially she could be told, if you say anything, we're going to kill your sister. Do you know what I mean? There could be anything going on as to why someone would do it. I'm not saying this woman is lying, by the way. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on the whole thing. Yeah. But I'm just looking at it from the point that you're making is, I don't know.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I understand that. I don't know. The problem is that like we can make all these points, and your point is as valid as mine. It's just that this case is all over the place. It was very clear, cut and dry of a lot of the people that were done in by the Me Too movement, like Harvey Weinstein, for example. We knew that he was taking advantage of women. Everyone knew that, like Bill Cosby was doing crazy stuff, and whoever else basically, when Jimmy Savile, all these people did like monstrous things to people. But this one is all over the place. But I would take your point on board. Maybe he does have... I mean, Andrew Tate has said before that he has a lot of contacts in a lot of places in the world. So it's a fair reason to think that he's not the kind of guy you want to go against. But the way she's talking, it doesn't come across that way. I don't see any fear in her eyes. Like, there's no like stuttering. It doesn't seem rehearsed. But maybe that's me looking for something to exonerate this guy or whatever. Like, maybe you're right.
After they got arrested, that's when I found out that I was a victim in this case, and I never gave my statement as a victim. So I was very shocked and surprised it even happened. And I did give, in total, 3 statements. Yeah, 3 statements in total, and 2 of them were given after the second raid, after 29th of December of last year, when they got arrested. And it was totally ignored and not approved.
Just to clarify, what you're saying is you could give live evidence, but what they're trying to do is discredit that evidence by saying that they've brainwashed you.
Yeah.
But did they give you any explanations as to why?
That's a problem. If there is substantial evidence that says that Andrew and Tristan Tate were not abusing and doing these things that they're claiming to these women, they can now, under the lover boy pretense or whatever they call it, say you're brainwashed for throwing your evidence out. So really, from what I'm hearing, we'll never actually know if he gets convicted. We won't know if he was actually guilty. If they're destroying evidence and throwing evidence out, how are we actually going to know if this guy's done it? It's not really fair. I don't know if I've ever heard of a trial going down like this before. Maybe I haven't paid enough attention, but I've never heard of something like this where they're destroying evidence or they're dismissing it and saying to somebody, we can't take your evidence seriously because you might be brainwashed.
No, they gave me an explanation that this is the procedure. This is why we have to do this. But they haven't given me an explanation about why they are not approving my statements and why I'm being ignored, why I'm stated as a victim. I tried to talk to them a lot of times, but no one is listening to me.
You mentioned in a number of videos that you asked Tate to remove you as a victim. What explanation did they give to say that they will not remove you?
None. They are completely ignoring me. In the first statement ever that we gave in April, I clarified the whole case, how it happened. I answered all the questions as the truth. And if you read my statement from April, even those from now, anyone could see that everything that's been assumed, it's a lie. It's a huge lie.
What she's saying is crazy right now. She's saying, we're under the assumption she hasn't been brainwashed. And she is trying to tell them, you've got the wrong person, I'm not a victim here. And they're saying to her, no, we're going to use you as a victim. Like that blurs the line of what truth is then.
100%.
We genuinely don't know. There's been 3 women so far. This is one of them that have come forward saying Andrew Tate did not do these things. 2 of the 6, this is one of them. And the third one was another cam model that we reacted to last time where she had the messages from Andrew Tate. Now, when we put that video up, I had people messaging me saying, what if those WhatsApp messages are doctored? What if someone has photoshopped them?
Yeah, because that girl was speaking a different language throughout the whole video, but all the text messages was in English.
Yeah, the text messages were in English, and people were saying that it was doctored. Now, she was talking to her Romanian audience, so it doesn't mean that she can't speak English. We don't know. That's an assumption.
Right, okay.
But they were saying that the text messages were doctored. Fine, I'll take that on board. Maybe they are doctored if she's brainwashed. But then how are we supposed to take the transcripts that have been released by the Romanian government if we take on board what she's saying? And she's saying they're destroying evidence and not taking her claims seriously, and they're throwing them out. How do we know what the truth is?
And named her being a victim without her even saying she was a victim.
Yeah, she didn't even know. No one came forward to her and asked her anything. They just named her as a victim and then raided her apartment. This again is under the assumption that she hasn't been brainwashed to say all these things. If what she's saying is true and they are actually destroying evidence, then we're not going to know. We're not going to know if what they say about the Tate brothers is true if they put them in. We're just not. The only thing that is going to save those guys at this point is if their appeal gets approved and then they flee Romania and they just get out of there and never go back. Otherwise, this does not look good for Andrew Tate.
The witness statements are so damaging to the prosecution, and that's the reason why they don't want to include it.
They came into our homes, raided our homes, and then they took us to the police section. They said, okay, you're going to be interviewed, you're going to give your statements. And I asked them, what's the reason? And they said, no, you're going to figure it out later. You're going to find out later.
Right. But what do you think it is, what you've said, is a reason why they'll never file them or produce them?
In my witness statement.
Yeah.
The truth.
I am speaking the truth. I've been saying the truth always since April of last year. And that's what they want to avoid. They want to avoid a voice, and they want to avoid people finding out the truth in the first place, because that will mean that the case will be done. They will lose the case. And that's what they don't want, because they have so much going on behind. Elections coming up in 2024, you have the leadership spot open in the DCOT, which the prosecutor wants. There is so much more to this case that people don't see. You only see what media brings, and those are just assumptions.
That's a fair thing to say, because I've always said myself, the media shows you what they want to show you. They don't show you everything. We've seen a whole bunch of madness that has come out about all sorts of things that have happened in the last few years that were once deemed conspiracy theories, and now all of a sudden it's just like everyday normal stuff that people were talking about back then. The other thing is that if the Romanian government are actually doing this, right, if they're actually destroying evidence, if they're dismissing witness statements that are so damning it will throw the whole case out, it will validate what Andrew Tate is saying, because Andrew Tate was saying that Romania is very corrupt.
Yeah.
If they lose this case now, and if those witness statements come to light, and they do take them seriously, everything he said was true, and Romania looks even worse. So it would stand to reason that to avoid looking stupid, the Romanian government are going to do everything they can to get a conviction of this guy, to say, yeah, he's guilty and you can't come to our country and call us corrupt and do whatever you want. Because Andrew Tate's got videos, and listen, I think that he shouldn't have said these things on video, personally. He's got things on video saying, yeah, Romania's corrupt, you know, if they send me to prison, I'll give a couple people money here, a couple people money there, and I'm chilling. Obviously, that's not the case now. He tweeted out the other day that he has no lights in his prison cell, that he's in complete darkness almost all day. He can hear cockroaches walking around. So obviously his money's no good there, because he's pissed off the government to the point where even a man of his status and of his riches, they're not willing to accept his money because they're more interested in their image. But I understand where they're coming from as well. This guy has basically made them look like fools. So they're going to do everything they can to get a conviction of this guy, in my opinion. To what extent they participate in corruption, I don't know. I don't know if everything this girl is saying is true. But if what she is saying is true, and Andrew Tate walks, not only is his influence and power going to double, it's going to make Romania look so dumb. They're going to look so dumb.
Yeah, so I just want to summarize. What you're saying is you are not a victim. You consider the Tates as family, yet the judiciary and the prosecutor are ignoring you. Now, one last argument people have is you've got Stockholm syndrome. And what that means is that the Tates were basically controlling you, and so you're brainwashed into saying these things. So we want to ask some questions about that. So the first question is, did the Tates control you?
No one has ever controlled me, not even my parents. Okay, there's being controlled. That's a big word. And do I seem like the girl that is controlled? No, no one was ever controlled.
If she was controlled, though, she would say that, right? The thing that I don't understand is if everyone is saying that she's brainwashed and she has Stockholm syndrome, why wouldn't they get independent psychiatrists or whoever diagnoses this to see if she has Stockholm syndrome? If we know what Stockholm syndrome is, then obviously we can diagnose it. So why haven't they got someone independent, not Romanian, not American, whatever? They can be from wherever, but if they're independent and they're not biased, why can't someone just diagnose her and tell us if she has Stockholm syndrome? Then we would know. Why are we speculating? This is something that we can actually get confirmed. That's, again, what makes this all seem a bit fishy to me. If someone has been psychologically affected by a pimp, let's say, and you're making claims that all of these women that are supporting Andrew Tate or coming out in defense of him have psychological damages against them, can't we just verify this? Can't someone just go and verify it?
Is stuff like that classed as, like, you know, when you're going for a court case, can stuff like that even be used as evidence, though? Like, can it be taken into consideration?
What, of them being brainwashed?
If you was to get, like, it medically checked and stuff.
I don't know,
but it's never 100% accurate, is it?
But according to her, they're throwing out her testimonies because she has Stockholm syndrome. They're saying, no, you're brainwashed, you know, we can't take it seriously. So if that's their sentiment, surely we should get this confirmed. Surely someone should confirm if she has Stockholm syndrome, and then we can say, okay, she does have Stockholm syndrome. Of course she's going to say that. But if you're using the idea that she's brainwashed to throw evidence out and then also not verifying it, does that not look a bit weird? Does it not look like you're engaging in corruption? That's what it looks like to me. Unless she has been diagnosed and we just don't know. But from what I can see, it doesn't look like it.
What decisions did you make on your own, for example? It must sound too crazy knowing, just looking at your characteristics and mannerism, it doesn't look like a victim to me, you know, already, just from the way you look, your presence and your kind of like character is quite positive, you know? But these questions just to silence a lot of the critics and the biased media. So a lot of them say, like, what did you decide on your own? What kind of like decisions did you make, just for example?
I can just say everything.
Okay.
Because I decided everything for my own. I cannot say that they've ever decided anything for me or no one else. I chose to speak out right now because I wanted to. And I'm a really personal and private person. But, you know, when you see your family and your closest friends being punished for crimes they didn't commit, then you obviously stop and go out.
But this is the thing, right? So her saying, like, when you see your family or your closest friends going through this, you're going to speak up, right? I don't know why she's been put down as a victim, but if she is a good friend of theirs and has been put down as a victim, of course she's going to go on and say all this stuff to defend them because she's their friend.
But would you be friends with somebody that has physically and mentally abused
No,
you?
but what I'm saying is that she might not, because she's not actually a victim, she hasn't been through anything, it kind of makes this whole thing not irrelevant, but it's irrelevant because it's not coming from an actual victim.
But they named her a victim.
They've done that.
She's
That's
been
the
legally
mistake.
named
But
a victim.
she's admitted here she's not a victim.
Yeah.
She's a friend. So
Yeah.
essentially, this is just a friend stepping up, defending their friend. It's not actually a real victim speaking out on what's happened. So
But
that
that's
makes
the
it
whole point,
irrelevant.
Sammy. It doesn't make it irrelevant because if all 6 women, all the women that have been named come forward and say, no, we're friends, that exonerates Andrew Tate because they're naming people. The
Yes,
law
so
is
they're
naming
not
people.
finding actual victims then.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it irrelevant. That is actually very substantial.
No, that's
If they-
substantial to that. But if she's going to sit here and be like, I don't know how to explain it.
I'll give you an example. If they named me as a pimp, right, an abuser, and then they said you and your sisters or whatever, all the people that I abused, you guys are all my friends. So you guys will come forward and say, no, this guy's my friend.
Yeah.
And that would exonerate me. That's exactly what she's doing. They've named a bunch of women. 2 of them have stepped forward saying, this guy's a friend. Why have you named us? That's very relevant. That means that the courts have chosen people willy-nilly. That they've just chosen
Yeah,
people
they
at
have.
random.
That's the problem here.
But that doesn't make it irrelevant. That actually lends to it even more.
It's not irrelevant in the sense of the whole court case because it shows what the courts are doing.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's irrelevant in the sense of we can't watch this as if it's a victim who actually is just admitting that Andrew Tate does nothing wrong because she's not a victim. She's
But
just his friend defending him.
If there could be no victim if Andrew Tate is doing something wrong, if doing nothing wrong. That's the whole point. You wouldn't be a victim whether you're a friend
exactly.
or not.
So there's either they need to actually find real legit victims and get a story, or they need to just say there's no victims, let's scrap this. I
But
know it's easier
that's-
said than done.
But that's the whole point of this. That's what she's saying. There are no victims. So they're just naming women, and these women are stepping forward saying we're not victims. So it's very relevant that they've named someone that is close to him because they've just picked someone out of the hat and said she's a victim, thinking maybe she's not going to step forward because she's worried about public scrutiny. And she stepped forward to say, I'm not a victim, I'm actually a friend. It's no different if I was named as an abuser and you stepped forward to say, no, Mike is my friend. It would be extremely relevant. That's the whole point, right? The point is that there's not meant to be any victims.
I get your point. I think I'm not explaining well what I'm trying to say. Like, don't worry about it.
Go out with that. So no, I've always made my own decisions. I've always done whatever I wanted to do. There has never been a grudge on holding me back on doing anything. So
there wasn't a scenario where you were trapped or locked up in the Tate's house?
never. And no one has ever been trapped in their house.
When I do podcasts or I speak about this, everyone asks me the same question, so I'm going to have to ask you. Is there any kind of clear-cut proof or evidence if they brought you to say that Tate did a crime? Would you accept it? Is there anything they could show you which would make you think, okay, you know what? I'll accept they've done something. What would it take for you to accept there's a crime?
There has been no crime made. And there will not be a crime. When it comes to them, they are very straight and going for people. They don't like crimes. They are very good people. So whatever the police, the authorities, whatever people might bring out as a crime, I can say from now, I don't believe in any of it.
But this is a hypothetical question. And the question is this. Let's say there's a hypothetical scenario where the Tates did commit a crime that you weren't aware of, and there was some video evidence. Would you accept it?
I would accept it, but as I said before, it's very hard to even think of that.
Based on your own experience, you just don't believe that there would be?
Absolutely.
And that's important, because if you were unwilling to accept that they could ever commit a crime, that could be an indicator that you were brainwashed. But obviously you are saying to us right now, if there was unequivocal evidence that they did, you would accept it. But just that you know based on your experience that you wouldn't. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, I understand a lot with this, because when I speak on the same thing. I said, I don't believe a thing. You can give me 1,000 witnesses. I don't believe, because I know them personally, unless you give me clear-cut, like we're saying to you, show me clear-cut proof. And until that day, yeah, exactly.
Unless you show me the proof,
there's nothing.
I can never say that's true.
And people think I'm crazy saying this.
And this case, as I'm so involved in it, I obviously know there is no proof, but like in general, talking about it, no, I will never, I will accept if you give me proof, 100%. But unless you give me proof, which they haven't given out either when it comes to this case, I don't believe anything.
Yeah, I think that highlights their characters. People who personally know them, they laugh that we kind of like impossible. That's why we say this, and people can't resonate with us. They don't understand because they don't know them personally. And that's why you have the same reaction I do.
I've been speaking out now for a long time. Obviously, I've tried to reach the authorities and the police, and that didn't work out. There are many things around the media which are lies, and I really want everyone to stop looking at that and start looking into the truth and what we show as proof, and start believing what's right, not what's wrong. Because people talk about me being brainwashed and having the Stockholm syndrome, and yes, I've been reading the comments on Twitter, but those people that write those exact comments are the ones being brainwashed. The only thing I gotta say is I'm not a victim. I've never been a victim. No one has committed any crimes, and people that have done nothing wrong are paying for.
It's crazy what she's saying, right? She's going, everything that she's saying goes against everything the media is saying. That's why I was very reluctant to do another Andrew Tate video, because I haven't seen a case like this before. Maybe there has been one, but I haven't paid attention to it. I have not seen a case where a world-renowned pimp, we'll say, right, has had, or an abuser, right, someone that has been physically and mentally abusive to women, has got women coming forward to defend them. I've never seen it personally. I know that people can be brainwashed into doing things, but I've not seen something of this high profile before, handled in this way. I've not heard of someone before saying evidence is being destroyed, left, right, center, testimonies are being thrown out, and the internet are basically diagnosing this woman, and the Romanian government are running with it. I mean, she could get a legit diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes me think this is a little bit weird.
And I think after speaking to you, and this is the first time I've spoken to you and ever met you, and it's just scary for me. I want to add to this before we finish is you're clearly not a victim. You've spoken out and no one is taking that seriously, which shows such corruption at such a high level where you've got people's lives on the line and they're still ignoring it, and people ignore it. And I say all the time, whether you like the Tate's content or not, that's nothing to do with it. I don't mind. But this is not fair. This is human rights violation, yeah. And I can't see with Romania on this magnifying glass in front of the whole world, they can get away with this. It's sickening.
I just want my family to come back home, and, you know, I want justice to be made, obviously. There's always been corruption in Romania, but this is a whole other limit.
I think, I think the Romanian population themselves should take a look at this, take away their bias ideas of the Tates, and think anyone could be a victim, anyone could be perpetrator or a convict. So it's dangerous.
You know, the real victims right now are Andrew Tristan and the two other girls being arrested. They are victims of the corruption and victims of the authorities. That's the fact. Those are the real victims. And it's the police and the authorities. They are the guilty ones. They are the ones that should be paying for punishing people that have done nothing wrong.
Yeah,
and us. We're also victims because we suffer seeing our family and closest friends being punished for nothing.
I think the biggest fear most men have is this. You come now, based on what's happening to Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, every man should be in fear. Every woman should fear for their brother, husband, or son. Because basically what they're saying is, you can accuse someone of a crime. The victim can say they did not commit the crime, and you can still send them to prison.
If that's what humanity means, I want nothing to do with it. That's not being human. And I don't even understand how the people working on this case can sleep at night knowing all this. Because there are people suffering. A lot of people are suffering out there because of what's happening to them. Yeah. How can you feel safe? And of course, there will always be haters, but I've seen all those supporters. And honestly, for Andrew and Tristan right now, and say that we all appreciate your support and being there, that's really helpful. That's the real vaccine we need.
You got anything to say? Nothing at all after hearing all that.
No.
Don't you think that's interesting that
Of course, it's interesting, but it's just, I don't know. I just don't have an opinion on the whole situation. And I just look at this as it is a friend just defending her friend.
Yeah, but I don't think she'd be defending him like this if she wasn't named in the media. The media went after her, so she spoke up. You would do the same thing.
Okay, but naturally she's just going to be saying all good stuff because it's her friend.
No, but you wouldn't be friends with somebody that has abused you. That's the point. Someone that has raped you or assaulted you or trafficked you or done any of those things to you under the assumption that she's not brainwashed and he did do those things to her. She ain't going to be out there defending
No, I
him.
don't think he has to her at all. I think you're right. She does not seem like the sort of person that's been abused in the slightest or brainwashed. But it just seems as though she's a good friend of theirs. Media's come for her, making out that she's a victim. She's now using this as a way of defending her friends. That's it.
And you think that makes it irrelevant?
No, I'm not saying it's irrelevant. I'm just saying everything she's saying, it's hard. It's not that it's hard to take it on board, but it's just natural that she's going to defend him. So you're not going to get anything out of this in particular of knowing whether he's innocent or guilty.
What if all of the women that were named are defending him, saying he's always been friendly with me?
Then that's I just don't know how the media's picking their victims. That's why it's hard to comment.
You don't know how
because if
they're
they're just picking all people who he's been seen with, that's fine, that's relevant. But this is an actual close friend if she's calling them family. Do you know what I mean? Media's picked her and she's just his friend, so she's just going to be defending. Like you're saying, if it was you and I got picked, of course I'm going to defend you because you're my friend.
But you're not going to defend me.
But what I'm saying is it's not going to really be viable for the case because I'm not a true victim.
But if they named you as a victim, then it would be viable because that would be lying, right?
Look, Michael, I'm going to be honest with you because I feel really misunderstood right now. You think that I think this whole thing's irrelevant and it means nothing. I don't think that. I agree with what you're saying. I'm not going against you in anything. I'm just saying whatever she says is showing us what the media is doing, yes, but you can't take that as any sort of evidence that he's innocent because she's his friend and she's just going to defend him, and that's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying that you take it as evidence because it is just she said, he said or whatever, but I don't think your point stands because if we're friends, if you found out I was an abuser, are you going to stand up in court and defend me?
No, I just wouldn't get involved.
Well, you would have to if the court got you involved.
Yeah, I know, but like she's saying, she's like, show me the proof. So do you not think that there's a potential that he could do stuff and she wouldn't know about it? And that's why she's going to defend him because she thinks he's innocent.
Of course.
If you was abusing people behind closed doors and I didn't know, and then you got taken to court and I still don't know if that's true or not, of course I'm going to defend you.
Yeah, if they've got no proof, of course you would because you're none the wiser. But the point here is that they've taken him in because he is a human trafficker. That's the pretense they're running with.
Yeah.
They're not running under the pretense that this is all smoke and mirrors. They're running it that he was running a crime gang, a crime ring, and he was a human trafficker.
Okay, so let's put it this way then. I'm not saying I think Andrew Tate is guilty, by the way. Like I said, I don't have an opinion on it. But if she's that close with them to be calling them family, then yes, she could be in on it.
100% she could be on it.
So then naturally she's going to say all of that stuff. So yeah, she is still going to defend him. If you was doing something wrong and I was in on it, then of course I'm going to defend you in court.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just harping back to what you originally said, where you were making out as if because what she's saying is as relevant as everything they're saying, right?
The only reason I used the word irrelevant, maybe I've used the wrong word here because you're clinging on to it a lot. The only reason why I'm using the word irrelevant is because she is a friend. So whatever she says, it's kind of irrelevant because naturally she's going to defend him. That's the point I'm making.
And that would be a fair point if she came forward on her own.
Okay.
The reason why it's not a fair point is because the media picked her out.
I get that.
So that's why.
And that's why I'm saying I understand what you're saying and I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Andrew Tate's innocent either. We don't know. But I do think it's interesting that of all the abuser cases I've heard since God knows when, I've never seen one where the women are coming forward to defend someone of such a high profile, of especially for the crime they're accusing him of. It's pretty serious allegations. I'm not saying that Andrew Tate's innocent, and I also think it was a bit mad for him to be on camera over and over again saying that the Romanian government are corrupt. I can do whatever I want here. Of course, the government are going to see that he's the most influential man in the world, and they're going to be like, you wanted to mess around, now you're going to find out. I think he put his foot in it by doing that. Whether that makes him guilty or not, you know, he's not guilty for saying what it is, but it's definitely going to piss off governments. But we're just going to have to wait and see how this goes. We still don't know. He's been detained further. We're going to have to wait and see. And I thought it was just an interesting video to let people see, just because it's a victim. It's someone that was named by the courts who's saying that she's not been brainwashed and she hasn't been abused. Now, if she has been brainwashed, I would like to see a diagnosis, because you can check to see if someone has Stockholm syndrome, and if not, then I don't think her testimony should be thrown out.